Ash is not the only one with the motto, gotta catch 'em all. I'm a paleontologist, and when I'm digging up fossils, I wish I could actually dig them all. This is not the only connection between Pokemon trainers and paleontologists, since digging for fossils is actually present in every Pokemon game, and a lot of the design and lore of Pokemon was based on our knowledge of the natural history of the real world. That's why I've created a ton of TikToks showing how much paleontology we can learn by taking a deeper look at Pokemon. But something happened and an evil organization stole all of these videos from me. It wasn't Team Rocket this time. Congress actually started to ban TikTok, and I was afraid that these videos would be forever lost. But I'm just like Ash, so even after a defeat, I'm still not going to give up on being the Pokemon champion. So here's a nice compilation of all of my Pokemon related TikToks to conquer the Elite Four of the YouTube region. Just like Ash, I'm in a new region raising my Pokemon team again, almost from scratch. So don't forget to like and subscribe to help me on my journey. And comment which dinosaur or Pokemon fossil you would enjoy a full in-depth YouTube analysis on. So I hope you enjoy. The Cosplaying Paleontologist is gonna blast off again. Did you know that there's an extinct animal named after a Pokemon? I'm the Cosplaying Paleontologist, here to tell you about Aerodactylus, the Pokemon pterosaur. Us paleontologists are constantly updating the knowledge on extinct animals when a new fossil is found or when a new study comes out that provides further insight. If you're a Spinosaurus fan, you've definitely seen how our concept of an extinct animal can change over the years. This is exactly what happened to some paleontologists studying pterosaurs. Now, before I get into this, again, I want you to repeat after me. Pterosaurs are flying reptiles, not dinos. Good job. Back to the pterosaur paleontologists. Paleontologists were studying some fossils of Pterodactylus scoliopaciceps when they realized that these fossils were distinct enough from those of other pterodactyls to form their own genus. They named this new genus Aerodactylus after the pterosaur-like Pokemon Aerodactyl. Aerodactylus means winged finger in Greek, and it's a pterosaur, say it with me, not a dinosaur. The real Aerodactyl is much smaller than its Pokemon counterpart. The real pterodactyl would have only been about a half to 1 meter tall, while the Pokemon would have been about 1.8 meters tall. The bones of these pterosaurs are very well preserved. The skull shows that it probably had a crest made of soft tissue like in other pterosaurs. Funnily enough, there is a backwards facing projection at the rear of the skull of Aerodactylus, so if you squint your eyes really hard, it kind of looks like the projections that the Pokemon Aerodactyl has. Let me know which Pokemon fossil I should explain next. Like and follow for more. Do you know the real-life inspirations for the Pokemon Shieldon and Bastiodon? I'm the Cosplaying Paleontologist, here to tell you more. Both 4th generation Pokemon fossils were hard-headed dinosaurs. The Cornitos line uses their hard head for extreme offense, while the Shieldons use it as a powerful defense. The defense Shieldon side was represented by ceratopsian dinos. These were herbivorous dinosaurs that had large shielded skulls and sometimes horns to give predators a hard time and make it nearly impossible for predators to strike at their vulnerable areas. But which ceratopsian were Bastiodon and Shieldon actually based on? First, if we take a closer look at Shieldon, this Pokemon has no horns and a very shield-like head that gives it its name. Based on these characteristics and its small size, I think that this Pokemon is probably inspired by Protoceratops. It's a ceratopsian from 80 million years ago with no horns, and it was a predecessor of more classic ceratopsians like Triceratops. So in a sense, when it evolves into a Bastiodon and gains horns, it's actually recreating the real-life evolution of this group. Nice job, Pokemon! For Bastiodon, it's tempting to call this dinosaur Triceratops because of its popularity in the news and media, but there is a clue that differentiates it from Triceratops: the 2 ornamental horns at the top of its frill. This is a distinct characteristic in Chasmosaurus reconstruction. The similarities are striking when you consider that Chasmosaurus has a more elongate and flat skull, especially behind the eyes, whereas the skull of Triceratops is more rounded. So now that you know which dinos these Pokemon are, which Pokemon fossil or dino-like Pokemon should I evaluate next? Like and follow for more! Okay kid, you're 10 years old. I think you're ready to go on your Pokemon adventure. But before you go, I'm gonna tell you the real paleontology behind Kabuto and Kabutops. I'm the Cosplaying Paleontologist, your Pokemon who's here to tell you more. In the first generation of Pokemon games, you can choose to revive either the Dome fossil or the Helix fossil. If you choose the dome fossil, this fossil will become Kabuto. Looking at the dome fossil sprites from the games, the shell looks a lot like that of a horseshoe crab. Despite the name, horseshoe crabs are not horses, shoes, horseshoes, or crabs. They're actually a group of arthropods that contain species that lived from 445 million years ago to today. Now, Kabutops, however, is not a horseshoe crab. Kabutops has 3 vertical segments along its back. These are a characteristic of a relative of horseshoe crabs called the trilobites. These are another group of ancient arthropods that lived from 521 to about 251 million years ago. Now it's time to go out there and catch them all! Did you know that the Pokemon Relicanth was real? I'm the cosplaying paleontologist here to tell you more. Relicanth is a water and rock Pokemon that you can only find in the diving areas of Hoenn. You may have figured out that it's a water type because it looks like a fish, but it's also a rock type because it's based on a fossil, the fish called coelacanth. But hold on, Relicanth is a live fish and not a fossil in the game. So how could this be a 400 million year old fish? Funnily enough, a similar question was asked when ichthyologist Mark Erdman went on his honeymoon to Indonesia in 1997 and saw this fish in the local fish market. He bought it for $12 and later published that this taxon, which was believed to have been extinct for 65 million years, was alive and well in Indonesia. And it looked almost identical to its 65 million year old ancestors. Now, before you comment, wow, this fish must have been holding an Everstone to not evolve all this time, that's not how evolution works. All animals are evolving at all times, even if they look similar. And so the modern species of coelacanth are not the same as their ancestors. Got it? Coelacanths are a special type of fish called the lobe-finned fish, meaning that they're more closely related to us, or tetrapods, than to most modern fishes. You can see even in the Pokemon Relicanth that he has 4 fins under his body that he flaps just like land animals move their legs. In this way, coelacanths are a relic of how the first fish conquered land. What fossil do you want to hear about next?